Good afternoon and welcome to this month's webinar, Operational Excellence Part 2, Cultivating a Culture of Continuous Improvement. So today's webinar is presented by North Star Strategic Partners. So who is North Star Strategic Partners, or North Star, or NSP? We are a team of business strategists focused on helping your business increase profits. We ask the questions that you may not think to ask and examine the issues that may not always be at a surface level. North Star has helped numerous customers achieve, grow, and maintain prosperous businesses over the years. Our speaker for today is Wendy Roberts. Wendy prides herself on creating winning strategies while helping her customers maximize their resources and their profits. As a CPA, she knows her way around corporate financials. As a former corporate finance executive and startup CFO, Wendy offers a broad insight into finding solutions to help her customers achieve exceptional growth and financial success. She has a bachelor's degree in accounting from Indiana University, MBA courses at University of Tampa, and years of experience counseling customers on financial and profitable success. Wendy is also a published author. She is originally from the Midwest and was raised in a working class family. One of her most favorite and cherished hobbies is cycling. She never fails to miss a weekend cycling in the Bay Area. So few house rules, all questions will be answered at the end of the webinar, and a recording will be sent along with a short survey to the email address that you used.
Thank you, Shai. I appreciate you so much for that wonderful introduction. Again, my name is Wendy Roberts. I'm a CPA and the CEO of North Star Strategic Partners. One of the things that I have accomplished this year that I'm very proud of is that I was able to publish a book just January of this year called The Only Business Compass You Will Ever Need. It encapsulates our methodology that we use for every single company to help them grow and profit and create a sustainable business. So let's talk a little bit about that book and the 4 points of focus. Part 2 of our organizational area is included in this book. If you want some more detail, we'll show you how you can provide it a little bit later in the show here. Now let me tell you a little bit about the 4 points of focus and how this came into being. As Shai said, I'm a former corporate executive. I've had many years in the CPA world. I've actually been able to sell and had the opportunity to be able to part of the sale of 2 businesses during my career. So I started looking at what really makes not just a good company, but a great company. And I started looking at various entities such as Microsoft and Meta, which is formerly Facebook, and HP, and different companies, even some of the companies that I work for. I'm like, how is it that they are able to build these wonderful big companies when they started out so very small? And so I looked at this and I said, these 4 key elements or 4 key pillars is what really grows a wonderful company where you can make money, which is the ultimate goal for all of us. So let's talk about the 4 points of focus, then I'll get into a little bit more detail about operational excellence. So the first one is the red, which is marketing strategies. And when I talk about marketing strategies, I'm talking about your ideal customer, your target customer. Who is it that you need to talk to or reach out to so that you can garner that relationship, build that trust, and be able to secure a lead and potential sale by focusing on that ideal customer. So that's the marketing strategies we talk about. When I consider a website and SEO, I consider that more tactical because you have to know who you want to talk to in order to position your SEO in such a way to attract those leads. The second area that I looked at was the money part, financial structure and growth. Green is money, meaning we all want to make money so we can pay our bills, so we can support our families, support our employees, support our businesses. Money is so very important in all of our economies around the world. The third area, which we're going to dive into a little bit more today, is operational excellence. When I see orange, I think about optimizing your systems, optimizing your standard operating procedures. And the last area is blue for trust. Building a team, making sure that you are talking to your people, that they understand your mission, your goals, so that you then move forward in one solid motion. When you think about the 4 points of focus, it really is a holistic approach to running a business. It's a holistic approach, and this holistic approach will make you money. Now let's talk about a little bit further why I say that. Why is it that these 4 key pillars are going to make me money? So let's look at what I call the magic formula for success. We're looking at your success. So if I look at a scale between 0 and 100% on each one of these pillars, if you score 80% or higher in each one, multiplied times 4, you will create a very wonderful company of value that will make you a lot of money that you will be very, very, very happy with. Again, it's that holistic approach that we're looking at. It's not just one piece. It's not just 2 pieces. It's the 4 pieces together that create that magic formula for success. So let's talk a little bit more about that third pillar. And we're talking about operational excellence. What do I mean by operational excellence? I mean creating an environment that is going to build for you a very sustainable company using standard operating procedures, or what's known in the business world as standard operating procedures, called SOPs. SOPs. So, how do we create a company that is dedicated to creating continuous improvement using a mechanism like standard operating procedures? Well, first of all, you want to be able to lead your company. You got to set the tone. You're the CEO. You need to send the message that I expect everyone in our organization to build a beautiful operating system that we're going to be consistent with throughout the term and life of our company. So the first thing you need to do, and you need to think about this as the end result. This is the end game in my mind when you're building continuous improvement. The first thing you want to do is you want to establish your improvement team. Who are the key players on your team that can help build the system for you? And some of them may be inside. You may have to get outside consultants or other people that are outside of your team, and you bring them in. But these people will help you build that culture that you're looking for. You set the tone at the top, but the culture will be built with this team. From that team, then that team is going to meet, and then they're going to decide what is the process improvement that we want to do. How are we going to create that process to be able to do that over the period of time? Now, we might be talking about a project plan. There's other things they need to meet periodically to define how you're going to go about creating this continuous improvement. The next area, or the third point here, is that once you understand your continuous improvement plan and you start documenting it, you want to create training manuals. Now, when I say training manuals, it probably for many of you say, oh my, that could be a lot. And yes, it can be. So I start with flowcharts. Flowcharts tell me what flows through a system. For example, maybe your customer service. How do you take a call from your customers? How does it process through your system? How do you ensure that that customer is happy at the end of that process? So you would flowchart it all the way through to make sure that you've captured all of the steps, that you understand if there's any gaps, and if there are, then you want to close those gaps. Then the last area is, once you have something in place, you want to encourage your employees to speak up. Make sure you have a reward system and a recognition program for those employees who are saying, hey, I think we can do this a better way. You can't know everything that's operating in your business. Even if you are a small business with maybe 10 employees, you can't know everything. It's impossible. So you want to rely on your employees, and the way to do that is reward them and recognize them. So have a program in place. Now, let's talk about the benefits of documenting your systems and your processes. Now, when I talk about systems, I'm talking about your computer systems, your applications, such as your CRM. That may be Zoho, that may be something else that you're using, maybe Salesforce, whatever the case may be. Your CRM is your point contact of communicating with your customers. Then you want to make sure you have your financial systems documented and your payroll systems and any other systems that maybe you've homegrown, like a database. All of that needs to be documented. And I would encourage you to include that in your flowcharts as your starting point. So why do we have a documenting of our system and processes? Number one is increased consistency and efficiency. I gave you an example of a customer service process. So think about it. If you have a customer service process in place that is consistent along every single individual that's going to be customer facing, it will be way more efficient. And most importantly, that customer is expecting that same level of service every time they call in. So if you have a process that's consistent and efficient, you will end up having much happier customers. And a happy customer will stay with you much longer. And more importantly, they will more than likely refer you to others. The next area is improved training and onboarding. People move back and forth. They leave companies, they come onto companies. If you have your processes and systems documented, it creates an opportunity for someone who's coming in to understand very quickly what you're trying to accomplish in that particular job and the jobs that are affected around it, so that they can get ramped up much more quickly and you can start making money off of that individual or individuals in those positions. The third benefit is it's better decision making. If you understand your processes and your systems, you'll be able to make better decisions in trying to run your company. And then the last one is that reduced risk of compliance violations. We all have to do these. It's just part of running a business. We have to make sure that we're in compliance, but it's very, very important that that is a benefit, that you understand this is a benefit from doing the long, hard work of documenting processes. Another area is improved communication and collaborations within your organization. If everyone understands what the process is, let's say, for example, your financial close. If your controller or your lead accountant and your bookkeeper understand what is required in your financial close on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, it's going to improve communication. You'll be able to get your financial statements a lot quicker, and it will have improved collaboration. I'm sure you've heard me on other webinars. I talk about the importance of financial statements and why they're important. They're important because they tell a story about your business, whether you're in the past, with your balance sheet, in the present, or in the future. It tells myself as a consultant and a coach or other individuals where you have taken your company and where you have potential to go. Improved customer satisfaction. I gave the example of customer success programs, right? Documenting our customer success programs. I cannot stress this more. The better your customers are satisfied with the products or services you're delivering, the longer they're going to stay with you, which is very, very important, which is known as a customer lifetime value. And they're more likely to refer you. Built-in marketing. That's the cheapest, easiest way to build a company is by referral networking. The next is increased innovation. Obviously, if you have more processes documented, you're going to be more efficient. And the more efficient that you're going to be, the better you're going to be reducing your cost and improving your net profit. And the last piece that I want to talk about is it will increase your innovation. So again, employees will be more forthcoming about how to improve things. When you do that, when you have increased innovation, it gives you greater opportunity and more ideas to expand your business. Now let's talk about how to establish a documentation process. Let's start with the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish? Again, setting that tone at the top, telling people, your employees, what you want to accomplish, and making sure you have those end goals and objectives in mind. Make sure everyone on the operations team that's going to be documenting the processes, everyone in the company knows why you're doing this and what the end game is. Second, keep it simple and concise. Can't stress this more. You don't want to make it complicated. If it's too complicated, no one's going to do it. So the simpler it is, the more concise it is, the more likely someone's going to implement your process. As well as you want to be specific, very concise, specific. Know exactly what you want to do and how you want to tell the story with your operational process, and it will pay for it in loads for implementation. Keep your documentation up to date is our fourth point. That is so, so very important. Our businesses change, they grow, they scale. If you keep your processes the same, they're going to be outdated very quickly. You need to make sure that you are moving forward with the business and the documentation follows with it. And last, make sure it's accessible. Make sure it's somewhere on a share drive within your company. Make sure that everyone understands where to find it. Making it accessible makes it more higher probability that somebody is going to use it. Now, let's talk about once you've had the game plan in mind and you've got an area where you want to go and you've communicated that to your teams, how are you going to implement it? So the first thing you need to do is identify the processes that need to be documented. Maybe not all of them need to be. I would probably start with a list and go through them and risk rank them. This is going to be your number one challenge and the challenge of the team that you're going to have to document them. They need to give some thorough thought to it, some real thinking about how the business operates. And you as the CEO or the president of the company is going to have some probably very good voice in what those processes are that you want to be able to document. Once you identify how you want to document it, then you want to create a documentation plan, a project plan. This is basic. You can do it on Excel. You can do it with other Microsoft project plans or any other type of tool. But that is, once you've identified what you want to document, putting it in a project plan is key. It's so very important. Everyone is going to be on the same page. And then as you go through and you're documenting your processes, make sure you have milestones and make sure that you're measuring yourselves. So very important to have that project plan so everyone knows what they need to do. And then that brings us to the next point of assigning the responsibility. Make sure that everyone understands what they need to do with their timelines. What are the expectations? What are the due dates? All of that is very, very important in ensuring your success of doing this documentation. So once you've assigned everyone and you've got your project plan, the next step is to gather the information. And this will depend on the team members as well as your other employees. They've got to get all this information so we can start documenting. Now, does that documentation need to be very big? No, I would start off just doing flowcharts initially and maybe just small amount of a process documented. The first one that I always suggest is determining flowcharts. And that can be writing the documentation in an Excel spreadsheet. You can do flowcharts in Excel. You can use Visio. And then as you're comfortable, start adding a little bit more and more to the process. The next level is you want to review and approve the documentation. Have those discussions with those employees who are affected by this process. Make sure it is on track. Make sure that it's important that they know what they need to do and they have everything in mind and you've got it documented. Get their approval for what you have done. And then the last piece here is you need to maintain your documentation. As I alluded to before, you have to have the ability to update your processes as your company changes. Your company is going to be changing. It's not stagnant. If it's stagnant, you have a dying company. Creating a process to be able to update your documentation and maintain it is very, very important. So let's do a recap. What are the best practices for updating your documentation? As I've alluded to already, have a documentation plan. Make sure you know who are the team players, and then be able to test it, review it, and approve it. When I talk about testing, I think about A/B testing. In software, of course, A/B testing, or anything like that, where you're looking at your different types of angles. Make sure that you understand what those are and identify gaps. And if you have gaps, then fill in those gaps. Make sure that you, again, revisit again with review and approval. Getting the documentation up to date is very, very important, and keeping it consistent and fluid through the life cycle of your business. So some other practices that I consider best practice. You might want to consider using a document management system. They're out there. They can be very useful. Maybe you don't want to create things on Excel. That's perfectly fine. They're very low cost, but these document management systems will help you get very organized quickly. The next is you want to create a regular review process. I recommend at least annually reviewing your processes. Again, remember, your business is fluid. It is not stagnant. And the more your business changes, the more you may need to visit and regularly review your processes. And the last one, which I think is super, super important, is you want to encourage feedback from your employees. Feedback is so important. You might discover as we go through this process that you will have new ideas that you can expand your business. I'm sure all of you have heard of Tom Peters. He's the author of In Search of Excellence. It's a wonderful book if you haven't read it. I got a quote here from him that as a takeaway. Excellent firms don't believe in excellence only in constant improvement and constant change. So when you think about it, constant improvement and constant change builds strong, sustainable companies. And one final note I want to explain here on why we stress operational excellence, the optimization, your standard operating procedures, which is our third pillar in our 4 points of focus, is that when you want to sell your company, a buyer is more going to want to pay more, perhaps, for a company that has documented processes than if they're not. Because when you leave the company, that new business owner wants to know that my company that he just purchased is going to be able to run efficiently without the previous owner. So there is a payoff in the long run for creating these processes and time involved in documenting them and keeping them updated. That payoff is you'll get a higher multiple when you sell your company. And throughout this whole process, I guarantee you that you will make more money when your processes are documented and you know what you need to do in operating your business. So, what might be the next steps? So if you like what we talked about here with the 4 pillars, and you want to learn more about how this methodology works, you can scan this QR code or go out to Amazon and look up the book, The Only Business Compass You Will Ever Need, the North Star Strategic Partners 4 Points of Focus. There's a lot of detail in this. It runs you through the whole gamut of how to set up a process and how to set up your documentation plan. There's several pages devoted to that. The second is you can reach out to me for a free 30-minute consult. I do it all the time. I love talking to business owners. If you have questions, you have concerns, whatever the case may be, I'm more than happy to talk to you about building your company and scaling it. And last, if you are thinking about really moving forward with any of our 4 pillars, or that you really want to figure out how do I start documenting my processes, then get started with us. Reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about what the next steps are in helping you build your organization. So our services, as I mentioned, we have a strategic coaching and advising using our 4 points of focus. This is trademarked. It is a methodology that is patented. We'd love for you to look more into it. We believe in it wholeheartedly. We have seen it demonstrated time and time again, building very robust companies that make more money. We can also evaluate your operating system and help you create that optimization that we talked about today. We have a customized cash flow management system that is very robust. Again, it can help you monitor your cash flow, help you build your cash flow, know where your money is going if you don't know, and will help you figure out how to build that cash flow for the future. We also offer on-demand CFO services, as well as assessment of key ratios or KPIs. And if you're wondering about what is my company really worth today, we can help you build a valuation and tell you what we think it's worth. So here is our information, how you can reach to us. There's the phone number. That is our main number. I am extension number 1. There's info@northstar-sp.com. Also, our website. Take a look about our website. We go into more detail about the 4 points of focus. And I'm also in LinkedIn if you'd like to reach out to me on LinkedIn. So we have our upcoming webinars. We're going to be talking about the 4th pillar in the next 2 webinars. So part 1, we're going to be talking about different elements of building a team, and then we'll go more into it into part 2. And then the last one that you see here on the screen is strategic exits. What do you need to do to build your company for a strategic exit, and how we can help you position it and create that value that you want in order to be able to retire or move on to that next journey when you're ready. So with that, I want to thank you very much for listening to us today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to be able to answer any questions you have and have that consult be more than willing to help you, guide you in any way I can. So with that, thank you, Shai. We can open it up to some questions.
Thanks so much. We have quite a few questions that came in today, Wendy. So
Okay.
the first one is, what strategies and methods are recommended for implementing a robust continuous improvement training program that resonates with employees at all levels?
That's a very good question. Okay, so I'm going to revisit some of the past slides that we had, right? So first of all, design your team, right? So know who your team members are going to be. And then document it, get it documented, and then be able to test it. In other words, review it with your staff throughout the whole organization, and then revisit it over a period of time. So again, I would probably start with just flowcharts. Unless you're a much larger corporation, I would start with flowcharts. Those are the easiest thing to do. And you can always move up to a document management system later. But I think the most efficient and the most cost-effective way is to start with flowcharts and then move from there.
Thank you. The second question that we received for today is, how can organizations effectively establish and maintain a culture of continuous improvement, starting with the formation of a dedicated team?
I think I mentioned that earlier too. It really starts with the business owner, the CEO, the president. It's the tone at the top. You set the expectations. You set the tone at the top. You set the goals. You set the objectives. That has to be communicated throughout the entire organization. No matter if you're 3 people, or 20 people, or 50 people, or 100 people, the more you have in employees, the bigger that message has to be and the more widespread. So it needs to be concise and very specific. So again, the tone at the top sets everything in motion. They have to know, your employees have to know that you're serious about doing this, because it is going to take time. It's going to take effort. But trust me when I say this, it will pay off in the long run.
Thank you. And we have room for one more question.
Okay.
Could you outline a step-by-step approach to establishing and maintaining an effective documentation process, including best practices for updating documentation to ensure relevance and accuracy over time?
Yeah, we touched on that several times today. So again, I'm going to say to you, start with flowcharts. That's the easiest thing to do. Make sure you communicate it to all of your staff. Make sure they review it. Make sure you get the feedback, because you're liable to find some gaps. If you don't find gaps, I don't think you've dug in hard enough. You haven't asked the right questions. You didn't get the right answers, because every company, there is going to be gaps somewhere, and you want to be able to understand those gaps. You also want to be able to understand what the risks are. There may be some risks that you didn't think about, and you're going to find out during this process that you have a risk factor that you need to address. You might also find opportunities, like we talked about, for innovation, new ideas that you never even knew existed that were in the minds of your employees that can open up a new business line for you, or a new service that you can provide. All of that information will be coming through a process improvement program and have that reward system in place. This really does work. Why do you think large billion-dollar corporations have an internal audit teams or have a process improvement team? We had one at IBM. We had one, it was called the Business Controls Group. I was in that group. We had it in internal audit at various other corporations I worked at. Why do you think they have those? Why do you think a business process improvement team, like at IBM, or some of these other multi-billion-dollar companies, like that might be an internal audit team, why do you think they do that? They do that because they know the value of improving processes, because it increases efficiency and drives more dollars to the bottom line. It makes these billion-dollar companies more money. I'm saying to you, if you follow this third pillar and you walk through the process that we talk about in the book, or that we can guide you through, you will make more money. That's the bottom line.
Thanks so much for answering that. Those were the questions, or some of the questions that we got for today, Wendy.
Okay, perfect. Well, I know we're a little bit over time, so I think we should let everybody go. Thank you again for watching today. We hope that you have gotten a great takeaway from this. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. With that, thank you for attending today, and we hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.